All right, let's start. So the length of a segment is the distance between 2 points. So I want to find the distance from this point to that point. And the distance formula is d for distance equal to the square root x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square. This is the result of Pythagoras theorem, because if you work this out, that will be a right angle triangle. This is x2 minus x1. This is y2 minus y1. That gives you the distance d. Okay, that's the Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras. So if you remember Pythagoras, you'll be able to remember this distance formula. After we do this, write it down first. We're going to look at the midpoint, and then we'll do some examples on how to calculate this. All right, good. Let's start with the first question. The first question, no, not the first. And then we'll write down the midpoint. Midpoint is the average of the two x values. So capital M for midpoint, x2 plus, yep, x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y2. It's a coordinate, so that's why there's a comma. It gives you the x and y value of the midpoint. Okay, notice capital M for midpoint, small m for gradient. This is gradient, whereas the capital M is midpoint. So note the difference between them. The capital M is the midpoint, small m is the gradient. Alright, continuing, we're going to do some examples on these. So we're going to use these formulas to do the examples that follow. So on the first column, we're going to find the distance between 2 points. It's very easy to do. All you have to do is just label, this is x1, y1, this is x2, y2. And then use the distance formula. First step, just write down the formula. Alright, write down the formula first. After you write down the formula, just substitute. So x2 is 1 minus 0 square. That's the difference of the x. And then difference of the y, 7 minus 2 square. And be careful, the question say find the exact distance, which means that your answer has to be in surf form. So you do that on a calculator, which is this thing here. So you do it on a calculator, but do not write down do not put the square root sign, because that will give you a decimal. So you do bracket 1 minus 0 square plus square root 7 minus 2 square equal 26. So you write 26 inside the square root. That's your answer. And it's not a perfect square, because if you square root your answer, you get a decimal. So we have to leave it in exact form, root 26. Try the next example, exactly the same, except there's some negative numbers. Okay, try this. Try the next one. Exactly the same. Okay, have a try. Give it a minute, then we'll go through the answers. Alright, let's go through this. Alright, so let's do that. I'll just choose that as your second point. That's your first point. So distance equal x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square. And then you just use your calculator. That's 7 square plus 9 square, right? Negative 9, but if you square it, become positive. Let's put negative 9 there so you can see where I got it from. So you just go 49 plus 81 equal, but it's not a perfect square, so you write square root of 130. Done. Alright, so we know how to use the distance formula. Next, we're going to use the midpoint formula to find the middle of 2 points. So that's the midpoint, the middle of 2 points. Okay, so how do you find the middle of 2 points? We're going to go to the example 2 and look at the first example, find the midpoint. All you have to do, call that x1, call that x1, x2, y2, This is y1 and x2, y2. Okay, so what you do is the midpoint is x1 plus x2 over 2, comma y2, y1 plus y2 over 2, which you get negative 3 plus 2 over 2, comma negative 5 plus 8 over 2. Okay, so negative 5 plus 8, the y1 plus y2, this one here. And then simplify your answer, you get negative half, comma 3 over 2. That's the middle of these 2 points. Okay, good. Alright, the next one is a little bit harder where you have to do some algebra. Right. Let's continue. So we're going to go through the next one where you have to find the missing points given the midpoint. Okay, so find the value of A and B if the midpoint is negative 3 and 5. Okay, so you just have to do it in reverse and solve the equation. So firstly, we're going to find the midpoint of these two. So you go 2 plus B over 2, and the other one is A plus 9 over 2. Okay, so the X value will equal to negative 3. The Y values will be equal to 5. And you solve two equations. So you split that's the X, average of the X equal to negative 3, average of the Y equal to 5. Okay? Alright, what do we do next? So you get 2 plus B equal to negative 6, B equals to negative 8. Like that. And same thing for this one, A plus 9 equal to 10, A equal to 1. And that solves the question. And we've got one more question about distance. And then you can start the work exercise 5G. Okay, alright. Okay, all done? Any question? Alright, good. We'll do one more. So this one, a lot of space because we need a lot of working out space. Let's look at how this works. This is like example 3. We're given the distance, and we have to find the value of A given these 2 points. So we know the distance between these 2 points is root 5. You have to find out what that A is. Let's continue. So we'll do example 4. Example 4 is, so like before, we're going to apply the distance formula. So D equal to this thing, something square plus something square. So we're going to put that as your D, root 5, as square root, so x2 minus x1. Okay, so we go 2 minus 4 square plus A minus 9 square. I'm going to call this x2, y2, x1, y1, because I want to always subtract the polynomial by the number. I want to write the polynomial first. That's the reason why I call this x2, y2. Okay, so we simplify this, and then we're going to get, so negative 2 squared is 4. So we'll just get that. Okay, and the question is, what do we do next? Because this is more algebraically more challenging to solve than the other equation, which is easy. This is a little bit harder to find out what A is. So what should we do to find A? Any suggestion? Yep, Lucy? Yes, very good. We have to take the square root out because otherwise you can't move things around. Because when you solve equation, I want to move things around, and the square root is like inside a house, so you can't really move things around. So let's get rid of the, or you can think of it as a lid. You have to take out the lid first. So we square it, that will take out the lid. And when you square root 5, that will cancel, and you end up with 5. And when you square that one, it's like opening the lid, so you got rid of the lid. Now you can see what's inside the lid. Okay, now we can move things around. What should we do next? Lucy? Expand? Yep, let's expand. I'm going to have 2 methods here. So I'm going to do method 1. Let's do expand. Expand. Okay, let's expand, collect like terms. So we do 5 equal to 4. Now be careful when you expand. People like to do this sort of things, which is completely wrong. Even though it looks convenient. So you don't do this. Remember, you have the perfect square formula. A squared minus 2AB plus B squared. This one, okay? All right. So what we do next is, we're going to continue. All Right, so we're going to collect like terms. So write 4 plus a squared minus 18a plus 81. Now this is a quadratic equation, which means I have to make the right side or one of the sides 0. So you subtract by 5, so 4 plus a squared minus 18a plus 81 minus 5. And we're going to collect like terms, so 4 plus 81 minus 5 will be 80. So we get exactly a squared minus 18a plus 80. So we have to solve this quadratic equation. Right, good. Oh, I have space there. Okay, but anyway, I'll have enough, hopefully. Okay, so how do we solve this? We can factorize, but that will be difficult. Anyone can see what numbers which multiply to get 80 times get negative 18? Negative 10, negative 8. Oh, that was quick. That was very nice. Okay. Now, it's negative 18. Remember when you square the negative 9 inside, there's a negative. Okay, so therefore a is equal to 8 or 10. Alright, that's one way of doing. I'm going to show you another way, which is a little bit quicker without factorizing. Okay, I'm going to show you how it works. Hopefully I've got enough space. I can't go sideways, but... Okay, let's write this down, and then I'm going to show you a second way to do that, which is much quicker. Anyone want to suggest what the second way is before I show you? Now you can't square the whole right side because there's a 4 there. But that's a good suggestion. That's what we're going to do, but you have to do one extra step first. So I'm going to show you method 2. Get rid of the 4, yes. So minus 4 on both sides, so you get 1 equal to a minus 9 squared. And that's a perfect square form. Now you square root. So you go square root of 1 plus or minus a minus 9. Like that. Now what's square root of 1? 1. So therefore a equal to 9 plus or minus 1, right? Negative 9 you add 1. So you could do 1 plus 9 is 10, or 9 minus 1 is 8. Much quicker, which is same as before. Alright? So this is what you do when you see this sort of thing. Make sure you square root it, but get rid of the 4 first. Square root plus or minus, otherwise you only get one answer. Then you add 9 to the plus or minus 1. 9 plus 1 is 8, 10, or 9 minus 1 is 8. Alright, note this method. This is your preferred method, which I will highlight. Now this is preferred. Okay, this is a preferred way, which can be overlooked, but very convenient. Okay, and makes things much easier. Alright, good. I've colored that in, and yeah, like that. Okay, any question? Now before we start, so you have to do exercise 5G. You might like to highlight this formula with a highlighter, like this. And then highlight this one. And you can do exercise 5G today. I'll go back to this page so you can still see it. And that's, go back